Test. Okay. Okay. They still probably heard me. One more try. Hey, perfect timing, Robert.
Thank you. Sorry.
I had some technical issues.
Good. That worked out for me.
Good, good. Good, man. You're starting now. Have a seat. Chill.
All right.
That's Robert Wagner. So, my generation of users remembers when technology was complex. It required certain basic skills such as reading, typing, and some patience, as well as some other skills. Today, because of mobility and consumerization of IT, the current generation does not have those limitations. We're going to talk about hacking the next generation. It's the cyber frontier. And here is your Star Trek meme, because it's necessary. And here is Riker. And that is all the Star Trek memes you're going to get from me.
1492.
Is it okay to share your password with people?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Take that back.
What?
And of course.
1492. Okay. And 1492.
Is it okay to share your password with people?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay to share your password with people. That's my 3-year-old son. He's one of 3 boys that I have. He's the youngest. And before, about a year ago, when he was 2, he barely spoke. And now his language is exploding so much that as he's unlocking his tablet, he's sharing his password with everybody in the room and anyone else that watches this, because it's being recorded. So that, in there, lies some of the issues that we're facing with this new generation. Kids want to learn. They're wired to learn. They love playing because that's when they're learning the most. So we should be giving them an opportunity to play and learn, right? Instead of just playing and then learning, why don't you learn and play at the same time? We're responsible. Well, if you feel responsible that this is something that you also need to help teach this current generation, then we have a lot in common. We're responsible to make sure that this generation gets the proper education that they need. Otherwise, some of the problems that we talk about now, when there was not as much technology, it's going to explode if it already has not been exploding. And we're seeing it. This is a classic example. That's why we created Hack for Kids. Up here in the front row with me is Robert Wagner. He's one of our board members as well. And we give a lot of our own time to try to address this current issue that we have today. So I'm going to tell you how Hack for Kids got created. So why, or when was Hack for Kids created? So back in February of 2013, I saw a tweet by 4 people. Excuse me. I should cover that up better. I saw a tweet by 4 people about starting something called ThoughtCon Kids. So right away, I wanted to get involved, and I replied if I can lend a hand. Being a parent and having kids exposed to technology and working in InfoSec and IT, I understand this is something that's important. And they accepted, and about a week later, they put me on the list, and we had a few meetings, and we started planning where to have the event, when to have the event, what kind of content. It was great. Things were moving along. Because it was called ThoughtCon Kids, it was going to be kind of like an extension of ThoughtCon, and the board at ThoughtCon decided not to move into a kids event. So, kind of sat back, feeling a little disappointed and having all of my excitement of doing something that I've been thinking about for some time dissipate. And I just accepted that as fate. But then changed my mind and decided, well, this is something that I should probably continue doing because I had that inspiration and that fire inside of me. So I first asked for permission, and they said it was fine, go right ahead. And in June last year, we had our first Hack for Kids in Chicago, the pilot conference. We had different kinds of tracks. We'll get to that in a little bit. We had some homemade hacks. We introduced snap circuits to a lot of kids, or if they already were exposed previously, we introduced different ways of doing projects and new ways of using snap circuits. And this year, we introduced Arduinos, and we printed up some 3D cases, as you see there, and used that as a part of a scavenger hunt, and the Arduinos blink Morse code, and that was actually my oldest son's idea, which was pretty cool. And then, my apologies. And one of the activities, which was just wildly successful, which when one of the staff recommended, we at first, okay, sounds kind of cool, let's try it. We're going to try anything, and definitely try anything that makes sense, was to purchase equipment from Goodwill at a discounted price and give the kids an opportunity to just take it apart, doing technology reverse engineering, which then that table, that area, was later called the Technology Destruction Village. Aptly named. And they love it. They love taking it apart. I mean, you can tell the gender of the person here. Obviously, I'm not going to share her identity, but you can see she's having a great time taking something apart. And they didn't want to stop. So what is Hack for Kids? Well, it made sense for us to get registered as first an Illinois not-for-profit, but then an IRS 501c3 public charity. You can see there the filing. By the way, if any of you have ever tried to do this before, it's usually a little bit of a task. Sometimes it's daunting for people. This was filed January 4th, 2015, and approved January 9th, 2015. Thank you. Yeah, here's my pro tip for you. Get the public servants busy right after the new year, and they have like a low bar of work ethic. So what they're going to do is all the little small forms, the bigger ones, they're going to push to the side. So you'll get done first. I used to be a public servant. So one of the things that we've done with Hack for Kids, and that was really very successful, in addition to having our first pilot conference in Chicago, is we decided to go in tandem with other successful conferences. And that's kind of been, I think, part of our secret sauce, is instead of going out there and banging the drum on our own, we partnered with Circle CityCon in Indianapolis. She's on staff. We've partnered with BrewCon. So on October 4th, we're going to be in Belgium, the Sunday just before BrewCon, so we're going to be doing something there. Yeah, we are. You didn't know? And it's going to be our first non-English event as well. It's going to be in French and Dutch, which is going to be really awesome, because I'm not going to know what's going on, but I know it's going to be fun. And we're also doing something in Grand Rapids with GERCON on October 10th. So GERCON, for the first time, instead of being a Thursday-Friday event, it's now a Friday-Saturday. And that was a great opportunity for us, because now kids in the Michigan area can go to GERCON, and we're going to do something there. But you knew about that. So if you do want to start your own Hack for Kids, this is partially what we're talking about. We're trying to find people who are interested in doing this in your area. So just for the sake of this presentation, I started to create a Google form. You can write that down now, or this Prezi is already made public on Prezi.com, and you can find it in there. But if you go to the form, that first line that you see, oh wow, it's cut off, is all you're going to really see is just your full name. But we're going to have to ask you a lot more information, but just to get it started.
Jake is okay, it's just the size of your screen.
Yeah, I did it in, I thought they were going to do by 16 by 9, but, well, was everything else cut off too? I just noticed this. It's all right. You guys power through it. You're tough.
When it pops out, it's just getting so. And the recording's fine.
Oh, the recording's fine? That's all that matters. So we also, at Hack for Kids, in addition to educating kids about internet safety, best practices, while giving them an environment to explore science and technology, and you probably heard of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Please don't raise your hand about STEAM or STREAM. We're just kind of really, if you've never heard of those before, there's a Huffington Post article you can read. We're really just focusing on STEM, excuse me.
Is this Hack for Kids? I still the next generation of high school students. What I've noticed also is that I think the people in my school, or like any high school students, I think also fall into that category. As you're talking about, I saw that was your son, your youngest son gave out a password. That's also a problem with my generation also.
We might need to give him the mic. I was going to repeat his question, but it's gone a little long. I'm getting old and I can't remember all those words.
My question is that, is this also to help, because my generation also has the same issues as, they're basically about the same as your son.
So his question is that his generation has the same issues as my 3-year-old, but you're exactly right. So one thing I did not mention yet, but I was going to, is Hack for Kids events are really focused on kids ages 8 to 17. And there's a reason for that. But you're right. So you would actually be someone who could go to a Hack for Kids event. If you were over 18, we would encourage you to speak at Hack for Kids. And you could still do all the other fun activities.
And even under that, you can speak at a Hack for Kids.
Absolutely. Our keynote, well, I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
Okay, right.
So while we do take internet protection and safety very, very seriously, we also take child physical safety protection very seriously as well at Hack for Kids. Appreciate the chuckle. In seriousness, we have certain policies, and some of the policies, we put those above all else, and we don't compromise them. For example, nobody could be on the board unless you've known each other for well over a year and not you've met at a con, and then you saw each other a year later at a con. You have to know each other. Meaning like you've either worked together or you're good friends and you've hung out and you really get a good sense, and well as other people vetting that person to make sure that you're a good moral character. A lot of my training comes from Boy Scouts of America. Regardless of what you feel about their politics, and they've actually made some really good changes in the past week, if you haven't heard the news, which we're not going to get into. They had some issues with people of certain lifestyles, and that's all been lifted, which is great. So I think you guys should applaud them for that. Seriously, you should applaud them for that. So they're very open now, but the training that comes from the Boy Scouts of America has helped me understand what the young mind wants to learn about and how they want to learn. You could teach them whatever you think they need to learn, but if you're not giving it to them in the format they want to consume, you're wasting your time. But the protection that the Boy Scouts have is we've adopted a 2-to-1 ratio, which means there will always be at least 2 adults to 1 youth. We will never have a 1-to-1. It protects both parties. It protects the youth from anybody that might be a predator, or that could be a life-changing event, whatever that means, as well as the adult may be falling victim to somebody with a creative imagination, and that being a life-changing event. So that's something to keep in mind if you think about doing this. This is very serious. We have other policies such as no mobile phones in the restroom. You can put your phone in your pocket, take care of your business, and leave. It can wait. Why? Again, the assumption of what might be, or the perception of what might be happening. Protect yourself, put your phone away. Some of the other things that we also do is, part of the vetting, the folks, okay, you could read that, is the volunteers. We don't make our volunteer form public for anyone. Amanda can attest to that. I've known Amanda for a little over a year now. And I asked several people about Amanda who knew her longer than a year, and then I gave her the URL that was hidden on our webpage to fill out a form. Because we just don't want anyone off the street to comb over. Get it? You gotta read it.
I still don't get it.
I still don't get it. Oh, he's got no hair.
What country does the hacker kids cover?
We're getting to that. The question was what parts of the countries are we in? But we're going to get to that.
I guess you could say that joke is over my head.
It absolutely is, sir. No, I appreciate that kind of humor. So even the photography of people on staff is in a controlled form. They'll put it on an SD card, and it goes from them to me. And then I go through that, and if there's a parent or somebody who wants the photography of their child, they let the photographer know with their email, and then I share that with them, and only them. On our website, we do use some photos, like here in this particular instance. Nobody can identify this youth except for anyone who's a family member, a relative, or a close friend. And it protects the child. But you could still see he's experimenting with snap circuits, and then there's the Arduino right next to him. This is another example that we like to use. This youth is 7 years old. I personally know him, and I can recognize him. But you have no idea, even if it's a boy or a girl, because of the curly locks. One moment, sir. But you can see here they're actually active and they're doing something. Yes?
I noticed that there's a little bit of blurriness in the face area or the head area.
That just happened to be that photo, but I have some others that do show their face that I intentionally blurred. This was the badge that we printed this year, and there's a story behind it, but I'll spare you, and it was actually a 3D printing accident. But it was a really nice badge, and what's really nice is the bottom where it says Chicago, we can custom that to every location. We're going to come up with a new badge next year, but we also have the year, so it's a really nice memento for the kids. And this white badge is specific to the tyros. Tyros are what we call the youths that go to Hack for Kids. Tyro means learned or a young learner, almost like a Padawan. I'm sure you've heard that word before. You can relate to that. The adult badges would be white, but they don't have the Tyro symbol. We created a Tyro symbol just for the kids to have something to identify with, something that is theirs. That symbol that you see there, while it looks like an arrow, it's actually like a Nordic rune shape, which is kind of like the arrow. It's a little more pointed here in this case, which it's called the Tyre, T-Y-R. Tyro spelled T-Y-R-O. The Tyre means strength and warrior, right? The circle completes the word Tyro, and the circle represents the unity of the hacker community. And if you're on Twitter, don't giggle. And the hacker's quest of never-ending knowledge. Because as you know, once you've solved a problem, or you've changed something and you've kind of flipped it around and looked at it a different way, you kind of turn it sideways. You might put it on a different bias. You never stop looking at things to improve them. So that's their symbol. If they're a speaker, they get a blue version with the Tyro, but if it's an adult speaker, they don't have the Tyro symbol at all, because they're not a Tyro. We call the adults Pones, short for chaperone, but it also sounds like another word you might know. And the staff are admins. So kind of give you some of the nomenclature. So why and where? This young man asked that question. Why and where Hack for Kids? Well, before we get into the where, here's the why. Well, you may have heard of Roots Asylum, previously known as DEF CON Kids, a fantastic kids ethical hacking conference. That was my first exposure to this particular type of medium. And immediately I was taken, and I wanted to bring my son, who was turning 8, but my oldest son, and at that point in time I realized, do I really want to spend a week in Vegas with a 7, almost 8-year-old? No. Long nights, or late nights, a little bit of sleep, odd meals, early mornings, and it's Vegas, right? So I kind of tabled that, and that was also part of what lit the fire in me to create Hack for Kids. There's another conference in San Jose known as Hack Kids. You may have heard of them. You go to hackkids.org. Another great conference. But the thing about these two particular conferences is that they're in the West Coast. Roots is in Vegas, Hack Kids is in San Jose. What about the rest of the country, which is pretty much what you're asking. So that's why one of the things that we wanted to do at Hack for Kids is really kind of start to think much broader. One point I'd like to make here is I view these two organizations as partners or allies or people that have the same mission and passion for what we're doing, and not as competitors. And I've seen some communications on the internet that there was some type of competition or rivalry, but not from them, from other people. And I just really want to make this point clear. If your idea of productizing internet safety for children is what you want to do in an event, this is not for you. Don't do it.
We want to teach the next generation what the dangers of the upcoming future.
He said we want to teach the next generation about the dangers of what's coming in the future, correct?
So fast.
Exactly. Mobility. It's advancing very quickly, probably faster than we can keep up with it, but you're absolutely right. But it's not the dangers that are in the future. There's a lot of dangers right now. So have I.
But what I think it's funny though is that you see that, but you also see how the kids now are getting younger. Now you're starting to see kids that are younger that are a lot more tech savvy.
Right.
Which my sister is like now super smart. So
yeah, use the mic, but keep it to the point. Okay, so now that we're like your son was able to use an iPad and all that.
He can only read numbers. He can't read words.
So.
But by the way, it was a Samsung tablet, but you didn't know that. That's okay.
Sorry. So now that they're starting to get more, like I've seen little kids with iPhones.
Yeah. My 9-year-old has an iPhone. But
Is
no
that one
voice
of the
plan.
topics that's brought up? Is how to use those properly? 'Cause
Right.
is that one of the things that's brought up at these hacks for kids, hack kids?
Partially. We're going to get to that.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You're awesome, though. You're awesome. Don't worry about it. I love how you're thinking. It's great. It takes a lot to take a mic and talk to people. It's a lot of courage. So yeah, we want to go pretty broad. I think we might not have like a hack for kids in Antarctica, but if we do, that'll be pretty cool. Nothing wrong with that. And the cool was the bad pun. Thank you, sir, in the back where the joke was over his head. But what we want to do is really kind of open it up sort of like a franchise. So if you're, oh yeah, I got cut off. I'll just back up one. So you can see that GERCON's in Michigan, there's Circle City Con in Indianapolis. There's a reason for that, because I live in Illinois, our headquarters is in Illinois, and then BrewCon is that first extension across the pond. We'd like to go to other countries. Scalability is a problem. There's me, there's Robert, there's a few other people on staff, but we have day jobs. So that's why we're looking to the community. If you're interested in doing this, if you have some experience, and you really want to participate, and this lights a fire in you, talk to us. Give us your business card. We'll talk to you. But we also need you to rely on you to take the initiative. Be the leader in your region. We will give you the framework. We will give you the guidelines. We will even give you some funding if we have it. So it's not something that where you're all alone trying to figure it out. We know how hard that is. So who we, or I guess maybe who Hack for Kids, how we're affecting, I think I might have not been too good. So the kinds of columns of content that we provide, now I'm going to answer your question. We provide speaking tracks, activity lab stations, we just call activity stations. They're all very hands-on, as well as workshops. Go a little deeper into that. Oh, and very importantly, in case you recognize him, he's right there. We're partnered with the ISC Squared Foundation. You heard of somebody who has their like CISSP or one of those exams or certifications from ISC Squared. We've partnered with them, but they have a foundation portion which is very focused on youth safe and security online, or safe and secure online is the presentation Robert was giving there, and that is mandatory at every Hack for Kids. That's where the kids are learning how to be safer. It's not just about keeping your password or saying it in your mind and not your voice, But creating a good password. 1492 is the year Columbus sailed the ocean blue. So it's an easy password while teaching him some history, but we want something that's a little bit more secure. We want them not to be downloading fake malware. We don't want them to be doing something on the internet because they can. Just because you could be anonymous and troll somebody doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do. You don't want it done to you, don't do it to others. We've been told that our entire lives. But being anonymous makes it that much easier to be eviler. So we do teach kids how to protect the victim in a bullying situation or cyberbullying situation, how to disarm the audience, which are the people who are laughing along with the bully, and to completely disarm the participants who are the bullies in the whole event. We don't like cyberbullying, and that's something that we do try to emphasize and really teach the kids not just not to be bullied, but to also get involved if they see bullying and to stop it. Yes, sir? The Safe and Secure Online presentations do require, it's gated access, it requires an account through ISC Squared, and in order to do that, the qualifications are a CISSP, as well as going through their training. They do a background check on every individual, as well as some training.
I meant, do you have, is that information, the education available online? So if people want to learn how to be safe online and all those things you described.
Perfect. We don't have that. We have other types of information in our library, but there are websites like ChildNet or Safe and Secure Online, which is another, or Stay Safe Online is another great website that has a lot of that information. If you just type in Safe and Secure Online, you'll find copious amounts of data. Which we didn't want to just be another Me Too and have it, because there's a lot of it out there. Sorry, Robert?
I was just going to say, a lot of their material has been ported out to other sites.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it changed a little bit to prevent copyright infringement, but most of it's widely available, yeah.
One of the best parts of this Safe and Secure Online is they spend a lot of time and money creating about a 10-minute video of a kid or teenager, probably around your age, he said he was 16, being cyberbullied by classmates in high school. And it was a UK setting. Not much dialogue, but a lot of music. Just kind of really set a tone that when that video is over, everybody just is quiet in the room and thinking through what happened. I mean, just talking about it just gives me chills. You got to see it for yourself. And it lets you know the victim in that story turns out to be okay, but the bully gets arrested because cyberbullying is illegal, if anybody was unaware. So this year we were fortunate to have our first keynote, and our first keynote, you can see here is Ruben Paul, who's a 9-year-old CEO. You may have heard of him already. He's an awesome guy. He's an awesome guy. He started speaking at DerbyCon last year when he was 8, and now he's 9, and he's an international speaker, and he's achieved more in 1 year than some adults do in their entire career. It's amazing. He's a bright kid, great kid, but he's also, he does other things in technology. He goes out and does martial arts and the whatnot. So we're very fortunate enough to have him in Chicago this year. So the activity station, so this is one STEM example. The challenge for the kids was to create, actually I'll just kind of jump to that, was to create a popsicle stick catapult out of popsicle sticks, glue gun, rubber band, and a plastic spoon. They were given a picture, or they saw some other creations other people made, and they just had to build it. There were no instructions. When you're doing R&D, there are no instructions. It's all applied sciences. So we gave them something to apply with a goal. So you got to give them the objective and help them get there. But we didn't say, do this, do this, do this. We're like, this is what it looks like. How do you think you should build it? And not all of them look like that. A lot of them didn't. And some of them came up with better designs. And then they were having a competition on the floor, shooting balls of paper, who could go further. So not only did they build it, they were testing it, which is what R&D is about. It was great.
Some of them made crossbows, too.
Yeah, that was in Circle City Con. They started making crossbows.
Do you guys work with a maker fair people? Because I think my daughter, she just turned 4, and they had kind of like a pack of kids kind of there, but it's like part of the maker tool for just 3D printing some of the stuff. And also, they have those all over the place, so maybe it's a good to like organize with them.
Exactly right. And also it takes individuals like yourself who, her question was, do we also get involved with maker fairs and hacker spaces and whatnot. And there's a lot out there, and they keep popping up, and they keep kind of disappearing. So it really takes people who are local in those areas to be the ones that initiate to the maker spaces and say, hey, if you want to do something with the kids, I know of this group called Hack for Kids, and maybe you guys can collaborate versus us knocking on doors, because Robert and I know we knock on a lot of doors, and there's a lot of times they're not open. Because we're just somebody they think.
What you described is some of their stuff, that's what they do, but that involves activity.
Yeah. It's very cool. I have another version of that involves just a few popsicle sticks and some rubber bands, and they need to make a catapult. It's just different. That's for a younger group, because a glue gun's kind of hard for like 7-year-olds and younger. But we also do stuff with scouting, as I pointed out earlier. So if there is a scout who is working on their STEM Nova badge, they could be notified here of, oh, by the way, this is where you'll get credit towards that. So they have other types of achievements that they're working on. There's nothing better than working on something while you're also doing something else at the same time, right? And they like that. So we identified that in there. And then the workshops, the way we organize the workshops is based on the venue, how many we're able to have. But by the way, to answer your question, yes, in Indianapolis, we did work with the local makerspace, and they printed up a bunch of catapults as well. That was a different type of assembly. Actually, they were trebuchets, excuse me. So same kind of thing, but a little different. So the workshops, we've done a few different types of workshops. These are workshops that I know adults want to sit in. Last year we did workshops like, I just had a mind blank.
Minecraft server.
Yes, we had them build a Minecraft server, so they learned Linux while building a Minecraft server, which was great because they wanted to build a Minecraft server, they wanted to play. We wanted them to learn Linux. You marry those two. The other one was a robotics programming workshop, and that one also was broken up in the morning and afternoon based on age groups. So for the older kids, they had to work with a robotic arm. The younger kids worked with a little truck that they had to program to go through a maze. This year, we did stuff with Raspberry Pi, so it was an intro to Raspberry Pi. And one of the challenges that we did was we didn't have them just have a monitor with an HDMI cable or a keyboard with USB. We had them booted up. We knew the MAC address of the adapter. We told them the IP, and then they had to use XRDP in order to get to the Pi. So they learned that maybe at home, if they don't have all the resources they need, how to be resourceful and how to figure certain things out. Or should I say all the equipment at home and teach them how to be resourceful. Once they got through that, then there was a Python script that was pre-written for them. We walked them through that, and what that was doing is it was using the GPIOs to talk to a robotic servo motor. So they were starting to learn the fundamentals of robotics as well, all within a 4-hour workshop.
So all this workshop really is on volunteer basis. The reason I asked that is because ID Tech Camp, you know, the big,
I know about
big profit company.
Could you say your question over, please?
Yes, I said this workshop all volunteer and free, so we can reach lower income people. Because I know, I sent my daughter to the tech camp. They're $1,000 a week for the ID Tech Camp.
Yeah.
How to do Minecraft, Java program. She's really in Minecraft. Not everyone can afford $1,000 camp.
No.
So I'm saying we should extend this. And I don't know if the current model is free or volunteer basis or minimum charge. You know, we should be able to run this more often and cheaper than $1,000 a person a week.
It is a lot less than $1,000. I did send one of my kids to ID Tech one year. I will keep my opinion to myself because I know I'm being recorded. But it was a good school. But you're right. We generally charge for the kids, for the tyros, $40 for entry. $40 includes a shirt, a badge, stickers, a prize, and lunch. See if you can get all that in under $40. And if you can help us. But you won't. That's hard for 100 people plus.
So that's why I'm surprised that we can, we should be able to get funding for this. Because
You'd think.
ID Tech can charge that much money. It's full. I try to sign my daughter out. It's always full.
Well, and for adults, we only charge $25 because the adults, they're going to get a shirt, they're going to get a badge, they're going to eat, and we're in downtown Chicago, so we were in the city. You know, go to lunch, you're going to pay $10 or more. The workshop, that one was a Web Hacking Exposed Bounty Hunter edition, so it had a Star Wars theme, and the kids were learning about web apps and how to attack a poorly made web app, and as well as how to fix the code. That was free. So you paid your regular $40, you could go to one workshop. The one with the Raspberry Pi, because the kids left with the equipment, we split the difference at about $39. Yeah.
That's not, that's good. But I know for a fact most parents, on average, pay $220 a week just for anything, right? So, for camp.
We're one day, though. We're not, a whole week, but we're one day on the Saturday, packed filled with fun and learning, and sometimes you get to walk away with a Raspberry Pi, but I haven't even gotten to the prizes yet. We're pretty darn generous at Hack for Kids. We're working on it. I know somebody in Atlanta that wanted to do it in Atlanta. That's the problem. They get excited, and they fizzle. People want to do it. I know people in Austin. I want to do it in Austin. People get excited, they get busy with life, and it fizzles. And for Robert and I to keep pestering people, we only have so many friends, and we're losing some of them because they keep helping us with Hack for Kids. You'd think. But Amanda's great. She helps us. She helps everybody. So I know she won't go away. But some other people, you might get one time out of them. And that's cool. That just, you don't blame them. But you're right. We don't pay anyone. Everybody volunteers. Nobody on staff gets paid. We could pay you, you said? Oh, I can't get rid of her. I know. You're like luggage. So just to kind of give you what we did in Chicago, we had, for example, the Python for Kids. So if you heard of Python for Kids, that's the No Starch Press book, who was very generous, and they sponsored, and they gave us some books to give away. And with their permission, we were able to use the name for the course, it was actually an activity station. And it was really designed, and it's just another example, we did several things, but just to kind of give you a clue, it was about the first 4 chapters and then the 6th chapter within the book, and it was like really fast tracked. So it was, here's Hello World, here's how to accept raw input, here's how to output your input, here's how to make a list. So that the second exercise is, who are you? You type your name and it says, oh, how do you feel today? Very simple stuff, but they're learning the fundamentals. The next one with the list was just teaching them how to collect data and store it, which is like an array, and then drawing shapes, which then they all love the graphic part. So it was just importing the turtle module within Python. Then we did something like, here's your challenge. Now that you've done your exercises, we've created a challenge, or I think this might have been out of the book, called Dizzy Turtle. Yeah, I got this screenshot from the book. And it was just basically a for loop, about 10 or 11 lines of code, just to teach them how to create this concentric square, but yet just kind of do it in a loop and know how to make the distance a little less. Just basic like flow control. And then this other one was another challenge, was make 2 lists of your favorite things and then join them. Because that's kind of how a database works, right? You have information, and then you do a join. And it just gives them the idea of what programming looks like from that perspective. And then the Fibonacci series. That was a tough challenge. Nobody got that one.
Pascal's triangle.
Pascal's triangle?
That's related to.
Oh, they're adding the sides of the numbers?
You add them diagonally.
You add them diagonally, he said. You really want to go to Hack for Kids, don't you? And the last bit at the bottom, where it says some content for the activity was taken from the book, give credit where you cite your sources, and also state if you have permission to do this. It's very important, because this is going to go on our website. It's going to be open for global viewing, and there's going to be some trolls who come back and say things negative. There are trolls on the internet now that even have said some negative things about us. And what could we have done wrong? There's just people that have free time and a lot of hate. Makes no sense. So on our website, if you want to see some of this content, this is what it looks like right now. You go to hackforkids.com, click on the library, and here's content from 2014. So we want to share this stuff. We don't want to keep it to ourselves. So we charge a little bit of money, but then we make all the information as free as we can. We have some presentations. Here's the Minecraft workshop notes, so you can build your own Minecraft server if you want. Here's some crypto challenges. So have you ever done a crypto challenge and you have like base 64 and you copy and paste it and you drop it in some kind of decoder online, and guess what happens? There's your plain text, right? You're decoded. Well, these are all graphic images, so they have to type it in. No shortcuts. But we're going to take the content from this year and put that online as well and expand it, because we have a lot of new content. Prizes. At the end of every conference, because every time the tyros are going to an activity station, they go to a presentation, they go to a workshop, they earn a token. Some kind of incentive for them to continue participating in as many activities as they can, so they get as much exposure to all the content that we have. At the end of the day, They give us those tokens, and then that's a drawing. Oh, sorry, that's an entry into a drawing that we have. So we put it into a hat, and we kind of swirl it around and pull it out, and their name would be on it, and then we call them, and they can come up and pick whatever prize is on the table. What we're doing this year is I was able to get some virtual Minecraft servers online at cloud at cost. So that's a grand prize. That's over $100 value. Yeah, it's an awesome prize. It was like $156. We got it at a discount, and all the grand prize winners have gotten one, and they all loved it, and they were all super happy. And sometimes there were kids crying that they didn't get it, right?
Minecraft's like the thing. Everybody I know.
Minecraft is. It's good stuff. Man, 16-bit graphics are underrated. Minecraft's great, even for development, learning Java. In this particular case, this is a snap circuit. Unfortunately, Elenco, who's the creator of this award-winning kit for just teaching electrical engineering and projects, is like in the next town over where I live. So I was able to go over there, and they donated a bunch of these kits. This kit retails about $150 when we got it. Exactly, and they gave us 3. But they also gave us some smaller kits that the kids could use. You could build an AM radio with this. Pretty cool stuff. The adults love it. The adults go in there and they're building the radios and the projects, and they're kind of tweaking with the electronics. So, the kids have a great time too. Again, No Starch Press, they gave us 7 books, Python for Kids, which is one of their really most popular kids book. They gave us a couple copies to give away. Arduinos, give them a nice platform. They can go and they can develop with it, build some sketches. We also printed their own 3D case. So you saw the black ones before. We printed special white ones for the kids to match their badge. And then my personal favorite, last year at DEF CON, if you guys have been to the Hardware Hacking Village, there's the DC Darknet badges. I love these things. They donated 4 of these things to us. They were $20 purchases. I bought one for myself and one for my older kid, in addition to the 4 they donated. And the kids, when they learned in the 18 mega, what is it, a 238 chip, or 328 chip, there was a TV Be Gone sketch uploaded. They all wanted it when they learned what a TV Gone. If you don't know what a TV Be Gone is, you can go to Best Buy, you can push a button, and then the TVs go off. Pretty fun prank. They all wanted it. So this $20 soldering kit, kids cried when they didn't get this. And other kids, where they had the choice between that and the snap circuit set, they were moving to that, and you could see their parents kind of turning them, no, grab the $150 snap circuit kit. That's your prize. Save me the money. Because they can't get this. You can only get this at DEF CON. And they're donating more to us this year, which is great. So I love the DEF CON Hardware Hacking Village. It's great community support. So again, the gifts. Oh, we do gift cards. We do a lot of different things. We try to get creative and also change it up. So the kids get money. I mean, they can go spend it wherever. So how do we know Hack for Kids is successful? It's very hard to know where we're successful specifically with the safe and secure online. That is definitely where we need feedback from parents if we need to know. But specifically, we're just hoping in that case that the message is coming across, but we keep repeating the message. Eventually it'll get through to them. We also do things with surveys. So in this particular case, we had a survey in Chicago. And if you're going to do surveys, surveys are really hard to do. They look simple, but they're really hard to do. If you could look at this first one that says, how many Hack for Kids attended, including this one, circle 1. When I wrote that, it was probably at midnight, and I was really tired. And when I read it to my 9-year-old, he knew exactly what I was thinking. When I read it to my wife, she came up with a different answer. Not that it was wrong, because I know she's going to watch this later, and I don't want to get in trouble. But it was a different way to read it. In fact, the adults that answered some of the surveys for their kids, they read it the same way and understood it the way my wife did. But my son knew, I'm asking, how many Hack for Kids did you go to? And some people actually wrote the number 4. But that's not a choice. So surveys are really hard, because we've only had 3 Hack for Kids. And I only know 1 kid that's been to all 3. When someone writes 4, what do I do with that data? They're really hard. We don't ask anything about PII, such as age or their name or anything like that. I mean, during the registration, the parents can choose to put that in there or not. But when we do surveys, we want them to be really blind and anonymous. But we did ask a range, because we want to understand how many kids that were younger than 8 showed up this year. And we had, I think it was about 5 kids. Well, actually, I got some there. But, so we did a range, like younger than 8, 8 to 12, 13 to 17. And then we wanted some stats on gender. But when then you actually kind of zoom into this here a little bit more, you can see here's all the different categories, and then the columns of a 1, poor, didn't like it, 5, excellent, loved it. And we did this right before we gave out the prizes, so it was kind of like a Puranic feeding frenzy where the kids were just filling them out because they wanted to get to the prizes. And some of them were just circling 1s. So that completely throws off your data. Or they would circle. So one of the requirements, you can only go to one workshop, which is 1 and 2, and they did both. So which is the right one? I don't know. Could I have done it online? Yeah, but we're going to have people like a line in front of computers. So it's a really hard thing. It's a really difficult thing to do surveys. Oh, wow, that infographic didn't work too well. I actually finished this last night at 3 a.m., so I apologize. I really wanted to make it a lot better. But some quick stats. The participants kind of going top down. This year we had 53 people registered. We had about 50, 51 show up. Compared to last year, we had 40, and these are just kids. 40 kids registered in Chicago, and 38 showed up, and 2 went home early because they didn't feel well, which is why we require parents to be there in case something goes wrong, because something will go wrong. Who attended previously, which was that survey question. So the first row is 36 boys and 12 girls. That was their first Hack for Kids in Chicago, which I think is pretty cool. So the word got out. But what happened to all the other people that were there last year? I know 2 boys and 2 girls were at 2 Hack for Kids previously, but there was also 1 kid that went to Indianapolis and then Chicago, but we never got a survey from him. Or if we did, they didn't quite understand the question. So that, again, the data, it's not clean, and it's hard to normalize. And then 1 kid at the bottom was my kid, who went to 3. Yeah, he likes to go. Age ranges, you can see here is a percentile, and then the shape of the donut. There was, interestingly enough, there was a higher percentage of kids under 8 than over 13. Don't know why, but tell your friends. 8 to 12, that seems to be our sweet spot.
That's fine because a parent made them go.
The kids want. Somebody showed me a text yesterday. I ran into them in a club, and they go, it was a text from the kid to the parent. I want to go to the Hack for Kids conference because they went last year. They wanted to go again this year. So the kids are asking. Which activity stations most popular was the Technology Destruction Village? Obviously why. But the most attended was the Lockpicking Village, which again, I would be there too all day if I could. Some other stats here. In the Lockpicking Village, we had 28 kids go, 5, so almost all of them did like 1 through 4 pins, but we see here there was 12 who did 5-pin locks, 8 who did 6-pin locks, and 9 who were able to get out of the cuffs. And there were some kids that just went for the cuffs and were done. Yeah, a little bit, me too. But 3, which are the red, did everything, which is really cool. This is like the last 2 minutes, 1 or 2 minutes. Network security section, we had 9 kids go there. All 9 kids did the exercises, but only 7 were able to do the hidden file challenge. There were some other challenges where they had to look at some packet data, which took them to an image on our website. They had to get the image from the website, so they had to find the URL. And then in the image, there was a hidden message, so they had to find the message, which is pretty fun. Sorry? It wasn't in the EXIF data. It was something else. It was hidden somewhere else. I'm not going to tell you because you might want to do that one day. So Python for Kids, we had 10 kids show up to that activity station. We had 10 kids do all the exercises up to number 3, and only 2 were able to get as far as 2 challenges. Nobody was able to do the Fibonacci. Spy math, we had 12. This was cryptographic challenges, like number theory and stuff like that. But if you say, hey, you want to do some advanced math proofing, we're not going to have anyone show up. But if you call it spy math, you get 12 kids show up. And that was Robert's name. So we had 7 of 8 show up. So I'm sorry, out of the 8 challenges that they had to do, 7 were done by 7 kids. And then 2 kids were doing proofs. And they were not in high school, which is really impressive. There was 1 kid that loved crypto so much. I call this payday. We were in Indianapolis. He showed up, had no idea what Hack for Kids is. He goes right to the crypto challenges. He sat there and said, I love this. And I was like, did you ever do this before? He goes, no, and I'm going to be here all day until I do all of these challenges. And he sat there doing every single one. And then when he went to Chicago, he's like, are there going to be new challenges? Like, absolutely. And I was emailing his dad, and his dad was like, yeah, I don't know where he got this from, but he really loves this stuff. And we had more challenges. We even had a board printed in Braille, and they had to feel through and figure out what the hidden message was in Braille. And then the Technology Destruction Village, we had 14 kids show up. They had to identify 7 electronic components. Of that, 5 of them did all 7, and nearly all of them were able to figure out what a capacitor is, which I thought was pretty cool. Flux capacitor. Some additional comments real quick. You could see there, some of the other comments was like, guess who? We didn't want to include that. Lastly, just you want to join us on this journey, you want to climb to the top of the mountain, you want to have a hack for kids in your area, let us know. You know how to reach us. We have a table out there. I might not be there, but definitely give your contact information or card to somebody. Let them know why. We're online. That's our Twitter handle. That's me. I'm Dave Schwartzberg. You notice how I did not talk about myself at all and who I am. And then I work for Mobile Iron, so they sponsored me to be here, so I want you to know who they are, as well as some third-party references. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and attention today.
I think we have time for 1 or 2 questions before the next speaker, if anyone has one.
That's entirely up to you.
I just wanted, so if I'm interested in starting for the Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. area, I should just get information to you, and then you guys going to vet it? Because I do right now, on my own time, volunteer for a martial art studio, and they have a summer camp. And what I did is put an hour into working with this and put an hour cybersecurity education into their schedule. So I already do that now. So this might be a good extension.
So, can I jump in? So the good news is the BSidesDC folks have started a conversation with us, and BSidesDC is interested in doing a Hack for Kids Village at their event. So we're in discussion. We just started yesterday talking about this, but that's a possibility.
Oh, that's good. Well, BSide Delaware, because that covers all of Philadelphia.
Okay.
The BSide Delaware is pretty big.
Do you know those folks?
I went to BSide DE, so I can keep out.
Yeah, the message there is whether you might not be the right person to organize one, if you do know other people who are experienced organizers, approach them and have them approach us, and you need to be persistent with them. He wants us to go south. I would like to go south within November through March, if that's okay with you. Oh, I know. Oh, I know. I agree with you. Sorry, I made a joke, but I agree with you. I want to go further south as well.
Great. Let's thank our speaker again.